Hello. Apologies for the little challenge we have in terms of the connect. That's part of the challenges of technology anyway, which all of us are trying to get ourselves used to. So once again, Ali, we've done the introduction. So without wasting much time, we would like to ask our guest for today, Rector Dr. Mrs. Olufunke Adetuberu, to please come on the platform. You're welcome, ma.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the privilege to be part of this amazing program. Thank you for being consistent. Thank you for other lives that has been touched and the people that have come to be a blessing to us. I'm so grateful. Thank you very much. Are you hearing me?
And we're hearing you, ma.
Okay. Now, should I start? Because I've not heard anything.
Please just you have the floor so that we don't we've lost about 20 minutes. We've done the introduction already. Exactly. And
well, thank you so much. Pastor had shared with me some of the wonderful experiences we've had in this wisdom feast. It's been wonderful, powerful. Well, I think I should start by letting you know the grace that has found me, a mercy that has been written my story. I gave my life to Christ about 37 years ago. And I was not told I was going to hell because I knew I was going to hell. I was told that he loves me, you know, and that was what caught my attention because the word love was very strange to me in the sense that I came from a very dysfunctional home. My mother divorced when I was 6 months and the allegation was adultery. So just figure it out. You know, I was told I'm a bastard, times without number. And because I deal with pains now and issues, then I didn't have understanding. And being a bastard, you are just not wanted. It was as good as she actually said several times that I wish I had washed away your menstrual period, meaning that she never wanted me to leave because it's a pregnancy that brings a permanent scar. You know, if a woman is pregnant and the child's, you know, paternity is questioned or queried, it means that no matter what it is, you know, every moment in that child's life is a remembrance of pain, of shame, of rejection and being abandoned. So I felt that was why she consistently reminds me that I'm a bastard. I wish I had washed away your menstrual period. So I came from a very, very dysfunctional home. And before I started, you know, knew what life was all about, I've been physically abused, mentally abused, psychologically abused, emotionally abused, and sexually abused before I grew up to know what sex is all about. Now, coming from that system, you know, I became very bad. Actually, I was so bad that everybody in my, you know, my cousins and my nieces, they were having a family meeting over my head, you know, say, Funke is bad, Funke is bad, Funke is bad. They were bad, but they would also call me bad, meaning that I was so bad and the bad was calling me a bad girl. Now, the issue of being bad is very, very deep. I don't know how many minutes I have, but I will try and still break it down. I don't know if there'll be questions later. So whatever I can share.
There'll be questions later. You okay, have at least 1 hour to be able to speak to allow for questions. At least one, I can be more than that.
Awesome, awesome. So that means I have the privilege of divulging and bringing out everything. So before I knew it, my mother, I grew up in Akwata. I live in Ibadan. I still live in Ibadan till date. And my mother owns a beer parlor in Ibadan there. And I remember when I was growing up, maybe between age 6, 7, 8, there's a particular guy that helps her to pack her drinks from the shop to wherever they are buying and all of that. They put it in the store. The guy started sleeping with me in different cartons of beer. I was 8 years, 6, 7, 8. I've not even started menstruating. So my sexuality was deeply exposed before I even started my period. Now, of course, there's this brothel very close to my mom's shop where they gamble. So I'll take money and go and gamble. I was not concentrating in school. I was stubborn. Everywhere I was told, my mom told everyone that cares to know that, she's a bad girl, blah, blah, blah. Now, our pain was the fact that she took me thinking I was going to be the best of all our children, since I was the only one she took away. If they divorced when I was 6 months, it is obvious. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, we're hearing you, ma. We're hearing you very well.
Now, the obvious is my paternity was questioned. If your mother and your father divorced when you are 6 months, and it means that your paternity was questioned, and the allegation, was adultery, meaning that this particular girl, she's not, my father actually doubted my paternity, which I later discovered. If I have to talk to that place, we'll get there shortly. So before I knew it, the life I was leading was very bad. I remember one of the days I just went to, then I was growing, of course, I've had consistent sexual activities with this particular guy. And I remember too, when I was growing up, there's this cousin, my mom's cousin, that used to come to the house. Now that I deal with sexual struggle and emotional issues, I'm able to understand the roots of some of the struggles we're having in the world today. Before I knew it, my mom cousin used to come home with a woman, and it's not with my mom, but use her room and everywhere, everybody's hanging around. So every time that daddy used to bring another woman, of course, I know the family of the daddy, I know the mother, I know everybody, but he will always bring this mommy, this grandma. They are all old, two of them are old, take them to the room, do whatever they want to do. So my brain was wrongly exposed to immorality even before I knew what's going on. Then at the end of the day, now this guy at the beer parlor that used to help my mom to pack her cartons of beer, of course, I mean, there was no need to, it wasn't a new terrain again, because my mind, my thoughts, my life has been exposed, without even physically practicing what sex is all about. So coming to this particular, episode of this guy, is on top of the carton, go and bring one carton of Star, we'll quickly do whatever I want to do. So that made me to get used to, I was familiar with that. Now, when I started menstruating, the level of rejection and pain with my parents did not even allow me to tell I was menstruating, because I was not wanted, I was not loved, I was treated. My mother will hang me somewhere, on the fan, they will beat me. It was bad. So I couldn't even tell I was menstruating. Now, one of the days I was told to go and get water to fetch water in the neighborhood. So this particular guy cornered me and slept with me. Don't forget, that was about the age of 15, 16. I started menstruating that time. So I didn't know what happened. Of course, he had his way, and I still remember him, as powerful as memories are. So before I knew it, he slept with me, and I didn't know I was pregnant. I didn't even know I was pregnant until the pregnancy was 7 months. I remember my mom, it was the neighbors that were telling her, hey, that this girl is sleeping. I was sleeping, I was turning white. I don't know what being white is, It was later when I started having children, I was able to understand, the dynamics of pregnancy and all of that. So before I knew it, the pregnancy was 7 months. And my mother got to know, and old story, bad girl, foolish girl, and all of that. So he now told my cousin, one of my cousins, to go. What my cousin, is a web. That actually is a web on its own, to go and do an abortion for me in a village called Igboho. So my cousin took me there. Don't forget, the pregnancy was 7 months. That was not an abortion, that was induction. Because if you are pregnant and the pregnancy is 7 months, a 7-month-old baby will live conveniently. under an incubator or something. So he took me to Igboho, gave me pitocin. For 3 days, I was in labor. Finally, the boy came out, the baby came out, and it was a boy. He was still breathing. And my cousin helped me to the toilet to flush that boy. I'm talking about a living child, to flush the boy in the toilet. I'm telling you my story. As soon as I flushed that boy in the toilet, my cousin started sleeping with me with blood till I left that village in Igboho. And of course, so much pain, black sheep, scarred child, mad child. I've been mad. You know, when you are scarred and mad, not M-A-R-D, M-A-R-E-D or something. You know, as soon as that happens to me, I became very wild. You know, everybody thought that episode would have made me to be a nice girl, sober. No, pain does not make you sober. Pain aggravates your addiction, your struggles. So from that junction, I put immorality to the highest top of the gear. And it was so bad that, don't forget, I was in secondary school. So I didn't finish the secondary school. I didn't pass any exam. I didn't do anything. So at the end of the day, I found out that my mom just felt this girl will just lose it. She cannot become anything. She will wake up and tell me the person who have caused you have died. I wish I had washed away your menstrual period. Her blood pressure was going up. She didn't know what to do. It was like, this girl. In the process, after I went to technical college in Oyo, I was living as if I was in a brothel. I had a lot of my friends. You know, if you are having a Volkswagen as a car, I will not go out with you. Don't forget, I grew up in a beer parlor. So my taste and my class is high a little bit. So in the process of, you know, having to be in that school, I was drinking. I have a guy that comes in, sleep over, I go over, blah, blah, blah. Until of course, anything I wanted in school, nobody would give me. They don't even trust me that I am going to use the money for whatever the thing I said I wanted. So, of course, it was my boyfriend, my man friend, the sugar daddies that did those things for me. I mean, God is so gracious. So I was just living like a prostitute, even in my parents' house. So before then, after that, I now got pregnant again. Of course, I've done series of abortion. The doctor actually gave me a medical report that I can never be pregnant towards the end of, you know, giving my life to Christ. So I think I was, you know, I wanted to, when I was going to leave school, you need to do an IT for 1 year. But before the IT, before going for the internship training, I was pregnant. And that time I was getting tired of life. But, you know, one sister used to come to our beer parlor that time to preach to me. And my mother will always say, you want to turn my child to become a mad person because she's deeper lifer. So they didn't want me to, she was not encouraging me to follow her. But, you know, when the word comes to, the seed has been sown. So I wanted a life, but I didn't know how to go about it. Until when I was coming back from school that day, I remember that particular place in Ojo, I started bleeding again. So I knew that the pregnancy was going to come down. And that evening, actually, I was pregnant for the doctor, you know, boyfriend. And I had a governor's party that night because I go to governor's parties and all of that. So that abortion, I had an abortion again. So that was fine. Then going to do an IT, I became very bad. You know, I did catering and hotel management. I have to do a night in an hotel. Man, that just gave me, took my careless life and reckless life to the next gear. And it was so bad that I was in Eco Holiday Inn for 1 year. Night 203 was the room number. Now, don't forget, the consistent abortions were there. was, I mean, I can't even count how many I've had. I've had several times a doctor wants to do an abortion for me. He will sleep with me before the abortion so that, you know, probably, of course, sometimes I don't pay them. So the only compensation is, you know, having to sleep with me. So I remember coming back from an IT, there's no home to go to, there's nobody. So I just remember that sister doing that used to preach for me. Preach that time, come to my mommy's hotel, you know, beer parlor to preach. And I just told myself, you know, we have to, after an IT, you go back to school. Then I got pregnant again for that same guy. And I was going to settle down. Actually, you know, when you have finished your IT, you finish school, so you want to settle down. Unfortunately for me, at that particular spot again, I lost that pregnancy in Ojo, coming home from Oyo. So before I knew it, I just told myself, I just removed my earrings and everything. I just said, I'm going to look for that sister's church today. So I went there. Of course, I wanted to look like an SU and all of that. So getting there, the message was eternal life. Honestly, I was weeping like a baby. And the message was that he loves me. I didn't know how I got to the altar that day, weeping, my face were on the floor. I was just crying. And I just prayed this simple prayer. I said, Lord Jesus, if truly you love me, I am sorry. And I had peace. That peace is still there till date. And I remember leaving that place. And I told everybody that we went to that fellowship together, I said, I'm going to preach. I'm going to preach. I'm going to preach. From that day, I preached the gospel of Jesus. Most of my converts are still strong, solid men and women on the pulpit today because of that encounter. I was so excited. I was not ready to go anywhere without Jesus. And here he has brought me. I don't know what else you want to talk about. Thank you for listening.
Wow.
Are you still there?
Yeah, we're still there. Wow. That's such is a manifestation of God's grace and mercy. And it's only God that could have made this possible. I know there are a number of things that possibly by the time some of us start coming up with our questions, we might be able to probably make her to throw more light on a few things. Like I mentioned to you earlier on, I've known her for close to 30 years. And I said, if you remember, our wedding cake, she was actually the one who baked the wedding cake for myself, my wife. She prepared, she was the caterer that handled that. And then if you could
I can't even remember. I can't imagine.
Okay, she was the one. That was about 28 years ago when we got married. Okay. And so it's question time. And I think if you have question, you can signify by raising up your hand. And Star Blossom is going to handle that session, which might also have some other questions she wants to ask. So Star Blossom, over to you, please.
Wow, good evening, Ma. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation. It's a pleasure to have you here because your story is so revealing, inspiring, and I'm just lost for words. Hearing your story, I'm thinking as a parent of young children, what exactly, Blossom? I'm asking myself, Blossom, what have you been exposing your children to, knowingly or unknowingly? What even caught my attention was the fact that as young as 4, 5, 6 years old, when the old uncle of yours that used to come use your mom's room with another older woman, and you already having the mental picture of what a sexual activity could look like or be. So when the opportunity, permit the word opportunity, when it presented itself, when it presented itself in your mom's beer parlor with the sales boy, I think based on what you had seen, you just wanted to, practice that. So I'm asking myself, what exactly are you exposing your children to that you don't know that they're already making mental notes and looking forward to when they will, practice such? God will help us in Jesus' name. So we have a few questions. If you have questions, this is our Q&A section. If you have questions, kindly signify by raising up your hands, or you can also drop your questions in the chat box and I will take it up from there. So I have one question here. How did people accept you, Ma? Bad girl preaching, since everybody already had the idea or knew that you were a bad girl. So when you finally gave your life to Christ, how did I accept you?
Well, I was not accepted because I came from a religious background. My parents, my mom, I'm raised by a single parent. Like I told you, my mother divorced when I was 6 months. The allegation was adultery. Then she remarried, so she had my steps. She will always say that, Funke, you can't bury me. These are children. I'm not a child. The children will bury her. But I thank God I buried her very well, because the stone that the builders rejected will surely become the head cornerstone. And that is great and is marvelous in our sight. That's the scriptures. Now, the issue of acceptance, I was not accepted. I remember, I gave my life to Christ in Deeper Life Bible Church. And Deeper Life will tell you Jesus is coming today. So we're living in that consciousness. I removed my earrings. I was no powder. I burnt all my clothes. I burnt it in front of my mommy's house. Then I don't eat in the house because they are sinners. You don't want to eat the food of a sinner. I was not bathing in their bathroom because they are all sinners. They are not sanctified. The kind of, the way we gave our lives to Christ then is not what people chewing gum to go and they make an altar, go for an altar call today. That was not the kind of, foundation we had. So it was so difficult for me. My mother would say, Motiba with a mercy, you have taken madness with religion. That's exactly the way it is. And I remember one day I didn't have clothes again because most of my clothes were trousers. So I had only one skirt and one top. And that top, I have to dye it, to make it a little bit okay. But if the skirt is wet, I will have to dry it, anyhow. Use towel, use everything to make sure it dry before I go to church because I burnt all my trousers, And I remember one day, my mom's pastor, I still remember his name, and he said, and my mother now said, look at her, she has turned to a mad person, religion has made her mad and all of that, blah, blah, blah. And the pastor said, don't worry, don't mind her, she will soon change. The proverb he used, I can never forget. He said that if you just buy new clothes, you want to be going out. He said it in Yoruba, Ode Okin, Yo Alasho Tutunre. And I started crying. I wept and wept. I said, my love for Jesus will never die. I was actually a little bit confrontational then because I was expecting, I was shocked when I was being persecuted. I thought everybody would be happy that finally, I didn't know that everybody around me, they were just religious. They were not born again. All of them. It was after I gave my life to Christ that, gradually people were now giving their lives to Christ. All of that, but I was not accepted though. And I'm happy I was persecuted because if not for persecution, probably I would have backslided. But the kind of foundation, the kind of zeal, you don't understand. The way I gave my life to Christ, it was like, now I was blind, now I can see. My eyes just popped opened and my eyes were opened. I was not doing any of that. I wasn't ready to do anything and to just preach Jesus passionately. I'll preach in the bus, Deeper Life now. That's why I gave my life to Christ. So you are not messing up at all. It's either you're a Christian or you're not a Christian. But you see, when they made us to give our life to Christ, they did not understand the dynamics of baggages. And that's what I'm dealing with now. That when you get people born again, it is their spirit that is born again, their soul, the seat of pain, of rejection, of rape, of molestation, of addiction, of unhealthy family system has not been dealt with. And if you don't deal with it, you're just going to be a believer that is smelling, that is giving out a wrong fragrance because your soul has been wounded. You know what David said? He said, he makes me to lie down and he restores my soul. Most of the people you see in the scriptures, because of where they're coming from, they did not get to the peak of their potentials. That not being born again is not just being born again, it's giving your life to Christ and deal with your baggages. Because if you don't deal with it, you can't fly with weight. You have to drop your weight. And emotional wounds are not visible. X-ray will not see it. It is the manifestation of a lot of anger, watching pornography, masturbating, committing adultery, fornicating. That is when you will know that, but they said we should be born again. I'm born again. I'm sure some of you are, what's going on? I'm sure some of you have seen a lot of people, who claim to be believers and their lives are questioning their morality, their integrity, are having questions because they don't understand that it's beyond being saved. You need to take your life back. You need to be restored. The Bible says that in 1 Thessalonians 5:23, it said, I pray. Paul was telling the Christian in Thessalonica, he said, I pray your spirit, your soul, and your body be blameless unto the coming of the Lord. Meaning that you are a tripartite being. You have a spirit. What you are born again, what I gave to Christ that day, I was bubbling over, I was jumping, and I was ready to kill the devil and all of that, is my spirit that is born again. My soul, I'm coming to that. My soul was not born again. Now, my body cannot be born again. You sure that even if you are tall and you give your life to Christ, your body is not born again. So before you give your life to Christ, you are short, you are still short. If you are tall, you are still tall. If you are fat, you are still fat. So my body was not born again. But that soulish place, that is where you have the seat of information. You're a doctor, you're a banker, you're an engineer, whatever your vocation is still in the place of your soul. Then your pain, the rejection, the rape, the wrong sexual exposure, the abuse, the verbal abuse, the mental abuse, the emotional abuse, the physical abuse, not knowing your parents, coming from a dysfunctional home, is sitting in your soul. And when you are soulishly wounded, like I said, X-ray will not see it. So you can be there you can be loaded and wounded. I can give you scriptures from Genesis to Revelation, bringing out this truth. So when I gave my life to Christ, I was bubbling over. I was, everybody knows me. You heard him too. But I knew that I didn't have issues with sex, but I had issues with anger. Because now, you gave your life to Christ in deeper life, they've choked you, so you can't even commit adultery or fornication. The way you will dress, God, you can't do that. But what about other things? What about rejection? What about low self-esteem? What about anger? What about bitterness? What about hatred? What about super resentment? What low self-esteem? You can't grow from this kind of system and your self-esteem will be high. It won't. Thank you. Let me answer more questions. Like I said, other things will bring other things.
Wow, thank you so much. A believer giving out wrong fragrance. That stood out for me, and I wrote it in my diary. Meaning, when you're born again, if you don't deal with the baggages, you'll be giving out wrong fragrance. So it takes me to my next question, ma. Considering all what you had to go through, the rejection, the resentment from your mom, the abuse verbally, mentally, sexually, how did you cope with that after you had given your life to Christ? Because we have a lot of Christians, or we have some Christians who have been abused either as children, some are now have grown to be resentful. They don't want to hear anything about a man, and some have even married, and when their husband wants to, have sex with them, and they remember the incident, the rape incident, and they don't want to go there. So how did you cope with it? How did God help you through that process?
Let me say this. By the grace of God, I became a professional. I didn't know I was going to use this to live. Sometimes the devil does not know that your mess can become your mandate. Now, when I gave my life to Christ, what really introduced me to me was marriage. Now, listen to me, young ones that are there. If you are dysfunctional, you came from a dysfunctional man, from a dysfunctional home, you are naturally attracted to a man or a woman that is dysfunctional. Because somebody was asking me about my marriage now. Dysfunctional is an attraction. Isaac was dysfunctional. Somebody say how? Isaac, yes. Isaac came from a very dysfunctional home. Ishmael, Hagar, Sarah and Abraham made Isaac dysfunctional because Isaac and Ishmael were fighting. And when you fight, it's your soul that is wounded. Even if you have physical scars, the emotional scars is worse than being physically scarred when there's a dysfunctionality in your family system. Now, getting married, as a matter of fact, when Abraham was going to give a child, a wife out for his son, he took his choicest servant, his PA, personal assistant, and he told him, don't marry my son out here, look for some marriage materials. And in Genesis 24, the man prayed. So praying that, oh, Father, the will of God for me married does not make it work if you have baggages. It can't even work, forget it. I'll share my story with you. It can't work because two baggages is a problem. My husband came from a polygamous home. I came from a dysfunctional home. A polygamous home is the Fuji house of commotion, where you have PDP 1, PDP 2 in the same home. So that tells you that. Now, I said it and I'm preaching it again. I preach it all over the world. 14 invincible people are going into marriage. 14, based on your question. People you don't see, 14 of them going into marriage. Everything that happens to you while growing up goes straight into your future. Whether you are born again or born against. I said before, it's your spirit that is born again. Your soul and your body is not born again. Please always note that. Now, coming back to Abraham and Isaac. Now, Isaac met Rebekah. They clicked. Conviction. I mean, the servant of Abraham was too sure that God answered his prayers because he prayed. So for the fact that you prayed, oh God, let this is my husband from heaven, does not make it. Get that straight. Take it to the bank. I'm a professional here. At the end of the day, Isaac and Rebekah started having issues. Now, when Rebekah was going to, I tell you, if you are dysfunctional, you marry a man that is also dysfunctional. Check everyone you know. Born again, oh, I gave my life to Christ, is not the thing. The issue is that you have to be intentional and be deliberate about your baggages to jettison, to drop the weight. Now, coming back to Rebekah, now, I don't know the kind of home a girl will come from. And somebody will come with a camel, you fed 10 camels, and they said, wow, my wife. And you told the person, a stranger, that you are going that same day. Something is wrong with that home front. And it was clear. I've written 54 books. One of them is Love Note to Fathers. We have 4 types of wrong fathers. We have a shadow dad. We have a missing in action dad. We have a boundary buster dad, and we have a traditional dad. These fathers inflict pain in the soul of their children. Where was the daddy of Rebekah? That he had to allow his brother to marry the daughter away. Come on. That is a wound in the soul of this beautiful, intelligent, dynamic virgin. So keeping your virginity does not make you to have a good home if you don't deal with the baggages. And let me say this. Until the saints are restored, there'll be no revival. We can have migration. You go from redemption camp to mountain of fire, to Nafsat, to deeper life, and get to Canaan land. That's Lagos-Ibadan Expressway service. That's why we see a lot of migration, but we don't see revival. If the level of churches we have today, saints are revived, we won't have Boko Haram. There'll be no kidnapping, because light shines and darkness cannot comprehend it. But the people that are going to deliver those people are also wounded. They are wounded. Now, why am I saying this? When I gave my life to Christ, I didn't have all this knowledge. But one thing about me is, I'm a passionate lover of information. I can be here for 5 hours. You won't miss me. I don't read to preach. I read to live. I began to look at it. I knew I had issues. Now, I read the scriptures. Anger lies in the bosom of a fool. When I get angry, I can throw anything. And I knew I was born again. I had this issue of low self-esteem. I had this issue of, rejection is in my soul. And if you get married, I have baggages. Like she said, I said it before, the fragrance of your life, your odor will be offensive. It's like you fart. A good perfume is expensive. There are some that one bottle of perfume that's not up to this can be sold for 200,000, 150,000. And there's one that can be sold for 20, 10 naira, or 50 naira, 100 naira. There are different fragrance. And with the fragrance thing, sometimes even when you have washed the clothes and you put an expensive perfume, it still smells. That is how our life must be smelling. And if your life is not speaking, it's thinking. So we don't even know the kind of stench that comes out from your life. You are the one that will know. So I noticed that I was not okay. And I remember those years before this knowledge. But I mean, when I get to a bookshop now, any owner of the bookshop will be dancing. I don't care. I will spend it. My greatest asset are my books. My children, they know. And I remember I stumbled on a particular material on rejection. Oh my God. I packed, it's about 30-something cassettes. It's not even CDs, cassettes. Anything on rejection, I will look for it. And I sat down. And for 2 good years, I was able to deal with rejection. Don't forget, my mother divorced when I was 6 months. Baggage. I didn't know my father until when I was in class 3. Eventually, I discovered he's not even my dad. Baggage 2. Rejection. My mother will call me bastard multiple times. Number 3, rejection. So my first name was rejection. My third name was rejection. My last name was rejection. There's nobody that wants to hear me. And don't forget, I've written 56 books. I'm on 9 radio stations in Nigeria today. I've preached everywhere in the world, meaning that I came with so much potential, and the devil saw it, he wanted to truncate it. So for 2 years, I sat down, I addressed rejection, and I discovered that rejection can only affect your feelings, not your future. I discovered that rejection is not a door, it's not a wall, it's a door that leads to another door. That's why I'm sure one of somebody in my ministry is telling you that we have a lot of materials on dealing with baggages, the rejection, take your life back series. I have a lot. Because I took time, I sat down, and later I discovered that if the nurse that rejected the pregnancy of the mother of Jesus had known that she was carrying the Savior, probably she would have been given a VIP treatment. So the reason why people reject is because they don't know what we're loaded with. And I discovered that you don't owe anybody any question, any explanation. Anybody that does not understand your life, let them come and meet you. You tell them the story. So I don't owe anybody any question. But that was not the Funke that gave her life to Christ before. This is a Funke that has dealt, that had walked. It's like, when Esther was going to do the beauty competition, she had 3 years of pruning, purging, cleansing. Then finally, when I discovered some things, that when you are dysfunctional, you marry a man that's also dysfunctional. And I started seeing some things. I said, Funke, you have not finished. Then I took my knowledge to another level. There's no institution in the world today that have not sat down, except they started yesterday, sat down under their tutelage to understand the dynamics of emotional baggages, addiction, whatever it is, anything emotion, those things that are not visible, that X-ray does not see in the life of a believer. I began to understand that. And one thing I noticed is this. Let me say this to you. I said it before, and I'm saying it to everyone now. When you are emotionally sick, X-ray does not see it. It is a struggle. And when you are sick emotionally, you are the only one that knows. People will know, but they might not talk. So you are loaded, one of my books, loaded but wounded. A lot of people are responding, are dancing to a music they don't know is playing the rhythm. They are dancing to the voice of their pain, like let's leave Dinah, like Claire, the first husband. If I love my husband, he will love me. If I give him a son, if I cook food, he will love me. He will love me. If I have children, he will love me. She was just, until she had Judah. The only thing she gave birth to that was relevant in her life was Judah. Praise. Finally, she said, let me praise him. And so people give birth to pains. They give birth to challenges. They give birth to rejection. They give birth to things that cannot even show off in life. Honestly, I wish Dinah was not born. What's the essence? She was raped. Because of her, they killed the Shechemites. So when you keep giving birth to pain, when you keep giving birth to the children that your pain has brought to your life will not be speaking, it will be thinking. So I started dealing with it. Till tomorrow, I'm a student of life. At least I know I have a friend of mine that will do reading competition. We must read 100 books a year. We are almost at 70 now, no matter what, no matter how busy. Because when there's a demand, we must supply because there's a lot of demand. This is one demand over my life again tonight. Thank you very much.
Wow. You have to be intentional. Reading 100 books in a year, you have to be intentional. So our take home from here is you have to make up your mind to deal with your pain so that you do not produce pain. Knowledge, 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 because rejection only affects your feelings and not your future. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ma. There is a question here. Let me take a question from the chat room. So did you at any point in time reconcile with your father and mother? And the second question, like an addendum to that, how then did you meet your husband?
Very interesting, especially the issue of reconciliation. You see, when you are born again, you're a new creature, all things. I didn't even have any issues with them. It was my father that didn't know it was not my father. And I will take you there. There's no need for reconciliation. They were not born again. So why would you be angry with a sinner? There's no fight. But in the process of dealing with rejection, you know, I run a Women College of Ministry, School of Finishing Touches. I'm all over the place. So I remember one of the days I was ministering at the School of Ministry, Women's School of Ministry. And I think one of my students just said, Mommy, are you sure you are forgiving your dad? I said, forgiveness, okay. So I went to visit him. We took cars and gifts. I was on television that time. Everybody knows me in Ibadan and all of that. So we went to see him. And on getting there, she was happy. He was happy. Everybody, he calls me Bimbola. Everybody, Bimbola is here. So we celebrated to let my children, my spiritual children know that you can't be bitter and be better. Because if you think you are bitter, somebody has done something to you, and because of that, you are angry, you are going to lose life. Are you getting what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I just pulled him over. I said, Daddy, because my paternity was doubted, don't forget. And I said, Daddy, are you sure you're my dad? He said, me also be. Okay, I got the message, but I'm not bitter, I'm fine. So we came back about maybe like 12 years later. My sister turned 50. So she came to Nigeria for her birthday. Prior to the time, my dad has been ill. So, and it's not in me not to be nice. Naturally, I want to be a blessing. My mother-in-law will say, Funke, when you move fair, you are my son, you're my daughter. So it's not my husband that is adult as a child. So it's not in my nature not to go extra mile. I'm an extra mile person. So I noticed that I was not really going to see my dad, quote and unquote. He was in my sister's house in Ibadan. I'll go there, buy wheelchair. But it wasn't, there's no synergy. So I was going to preach in Umahia that year. That year, my sister had her birthday. Her birthday was on a Saturday. She had about 3 days program, Thursday, Friday, Saturday or something. I couldn't go for the weekend because I was preaching in Umahia. So I went for one. And I saw Daddy, then because everybody was around. And I was looking at them. I said, I didn't look like any one of these people. Something. So I went, I traveled. In the plane, the Holy Spirit just said to me, that man is not your dad. I heard it clearly. Then he analyzed my feelings. Don't forget, my mother divorced when I was 6 months. The allegation was adultery. So definitely, but I've carried the thought of my dad, I've carried it over the years. So, but I knew the Holy Spirit wanted to do something for me at that particular time, because maybe the man was going to die, which he later died. And in the plane, I just told my PA, I said, she sat beside, I said, guess what? That man is not my dad. She kept quiet, she can't talk, he's our boss now, mama. I called my husband, I said, I doubt it, if that is my dad. I told my children. So before my meeting, normally I take time to pray. So we checked into the hotel and all of that. And as soon as I got on my bed to pray, I just had this wave of pain that came. And I prayed for about maybe 2 hours, and I was crying, I was weeping, and I had peace afterwards. So I grieved the pain of not knowing your dad. I did everything. I was good. So my husband said, oh, today, he just felt, yeah, I know you are dealing with your life, you're working on yourself and all. So before I knew it, the man died eventually. And as soon as he died like this, I started receiving text messages. You're a bastard. Da. I was not shocked. I was not puzzled. I didn't even reply to people. I just blocked them. I'm a good blocker. I block people a lot on my phone when you're stressing me. And that was it. So now I know I'm not an accidental discharge. I know I'm not a mistake. If I'm a mistake, I won't be talking to millions of people today. I won't be so choked up with itineraries today. You won't have me on this platform. I'm not an accidental discharge. I'm not a mistake. I came on an assignment. I remember one year I just told my husband, I said, I met my husband at the fake clinic where I used to do fellowship and all of that. And I just told him, I said, what I've been through in this life, it was for a purpose. Jesus didn't have to die. He died for a reason. So I knew that those things I went through was death for my generation. Jesus didn't have to die. He died for all of us. So those experiences became a mandate, became a ministry. It has taken me all over the world. I mean, sometimes it's overwhelming to some of you don't even know what my itinerary look like. I was just rushing in from a meeting as I just started. I have another one now. I have another one. It's just mercy. But if I had not gone through that, I'll be too much of a theoretical person than being practical. And this generation is tired of theory. They're tired. They want to ask, look at the questions that were coming. How did you? How did you? People are tired of telling them stories. Where either what the shoes know where it hurts. Have you, when somebody is saying, oh, this medication was, have you used it before? This gospel I'm preaching today, I've touched it. I've felt it, I've handled it. It's a word of eternal life. To me, Jesus didn't have to die. So I'm so grateful. Job said, you see Job that said it. You meant it for evil and God had turned it around. One of the patriarchs said it, that you thought Joseph said it. He said, you guys, you thought to put me in the prison, put me in the pit, put me in Potiphar's house. I didn't go to the prison for fun. I came. But the point is, that pain must go. No matter how deep is the pain, because listen to me, if your pain is not healed, if your pain is not addressed, you become a person that will be preaching and be bleeding on the pulpit, bleeding as a worker. You will not operate at the peak of your capacity until you deal with those pain. And how do you know you have healed? When Thomas said, Jesus, it's not true, you didn't rise. And Jesus said, I rose, I died. They nailed me, it's me. So no. And Jesus said, touch this place. Touch it. And Thomas touched the place. And Jesus said, yeah, he's bringing me. Jesus didn't say that because he was healed. When they touch the point of your pain and you are no more weeping, then you are healed. Thank you.
Wow. When they touch the point of your pain and you're no more weeping, then you know you are healed. Thank you so much, man. That's a very powerful one punchline. You can't be bitter and be better. So you have to deal with the bitterness so you can become a better person. There was an addendum to that question, ma. What was your husband's first reaction when he knew about your past?
Hey, very interesting. You know what? He met me preaching, actually. I'm not the mommy of church. I didn't bother. I didn't want to bother. When I was growing up in faith, I'm still growing. I remember one day I was having my quiet time and I was reading the book of Proverbs. You know how the scriptures just jump to you? And it said, whosoever findeth you has found a good thing and has obtained favor from me. I start from my study and I started catwalking in my study before I got married, before I met any man. So I knew my heart of heart that any man that marries me to his own privilege. So the day we met, honestly, I was just talking about my past. Because I'm not looking for husband, excuse me. The Bible says, whosoever, God told me personally, whosoever, blank check, find you. So any man that crosses my path is privileged. The reason is that, when you know your God, you'll be strong. A lot of people are struggling today because they are majoring on husband, I'm looking for husband. No, marriage is a salary paid. I told you all of my converts are having big ministries today all over the world. I still preached for one in August, this last month. Yes, we're in September. Powerful. She introduced me as her mother. And these were my first set of converts. Stop, love God, serve God. Forget about one man. A man will, listen to me. When Adam was in the garden, that was when wife came. Stay in your garden. Love him like mad. When my husband was going to propose to me, I told him, God, let's pray. I knew if God is my father, she will now give me what is not my own. He knows. Thank you. Let me stop at that. Thank you. At that point.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Stay in your garden and your spouse will come. Thank you so much. Do we have more questions from the house? Please drop your questions in the chat room or signify by raising your hand. That will be all from my end. Pastor Ayo, over to you, sir. Thank you so much, ma, once again.
Thank you.
There's a question here, and which someone asked, which I would like to start with. Do you have therapy sessions?
Yes, I do. I do 10 sessions for premarital counseling for people who are going to get married. They pay, definitely. That's what I do mostly. I have a lot of materials, courses on addiction. I'm a sexual addiction therapist. I'm a family therapist. I do, I have a lot I do, depending on what people are going through. I handle women that are married to difficult husbands because church is not telling us things. Can I say this before I proceed? It's only in the kingdom of God we don't respect professionals. I remember one of my lecturers in the US talking about my school of addiction. He said, in the whole of America, I can count on my 5 fingers churches that deal with the issues. And it's saddening because there are saints that are struggling. As I'm talking now, some of us are watching me. You are deep in pornography. You masturbate to stupor. You go to strip clubs. You have serious personality issue. Some of you are dying in your home. You are married to a narcissist. You are married to a narcissist. You can't figure that marriage. You are in a difficult marriage. Cry out. Get help. Are you getting me? Listen to me and listen to me clearly. I use glasses. I have an optician. I have tooth issue. Age. I'm almost 60. I'm 58 this year. I had to see a dentist. I did surgery. At the theater, we had over 9 people, doctors, surgeons, anesthesia, all of them with me. Psychologist was there. This is one body. It's not fair on the body of Christ. If one pastor wants to do everything, that is why people don't, that is why people, I'm choosing my words. That is why people are not supposed to have church. They're having churches because church has not been able to understand Ephesians 5 that say he gave gifts to men. Some are pastors, teachers, apostles. In pastoral work, I'm doing pastoral work, but I don't have to have a church. In pastoral work, in teaching world, there are different kinds of teachers. Kenneth Hagin is a type of teacher. Joyce Meyer is a type of a teacher. They are not the same. We have evangelists in diversities. We have an apostle, prophet diversified. In the class of prophets alone, we have Nabi. We have different types of prophets. Billy Akoni is a type of a teacher. Baba Kumuyi is a type of a teacher. To perfect the saints for the work of the ministry. I'm a type of a teacher. The moment people are just wanting to choke the church, that's why there's no revival. There's no, by the grace of God, there's no challenge in a relationship. Take it to bed. I don't even take it to the bank. I don't even need husband and wife to resolve a conflict. Now, one of the things I do in my therapy sessions is, if you are getting married, you must do personality assessment tests. Some are married. I was handling a case today. It was obvious that these people are not compatible. They don't have to be married. Now they have 2 kids. The marriage can't work. It's not a curse. Because the eye that will follow you to the grave will not be bringing eye in mucoid in the morning. Please follow me on my Instagram page, Olufunke Adetuberu. I do She Matters. I do a lot of things. I say things like this. It gets me pained. When people are born again, you told us to be born again. Now that we are born again, what else do we born? Baggage is knee. Is the pain, is the carryover. Check the scriptures from Genesis to Revelation. Addiction, baggages are there. Look at David. David was a child of one night's sleep. He had pain in his soul. He was never loved. They wanted to do an anointing service. They had to go and look for him everywhere. He was not there. Nobody was there. And you know the story. David slept with Bathsheba. You know the story. All the children of David had sexual struggle. There are several inlets to struggle, emotional struggle, bloodline. If your father is a polygamist, the demon of your father is looking for you. That's the gospel truth. You need to trace it. My nickname, please write it. My nickname is trace it, face it, erase it, and start replacing it. Trace it. If you can't trace it, you can't face it. If you cannot face it, you cannot erase it. If you can face it, you trace it, then you can start erasing it. And when you are erasing it, the question is the therapy question. Oh, when you are erasing it, it's line upon line. It's like onions, you are peeling it. Now, as for David, he handed over the throne to Solomon. Honestly, there was nowhere he handed women. But don't forget Bathsheba. Look at the mother of Solomon. Solomon had 300 wives, 700 concubines, 1,000 mother-in-law, one person. I asked myself, we have 365 days in a year. So he must have been having sex with 300 wives, 700 concubines. What? Because of the family system. So the inlet is the bloodline. 1. Then number 2, trauma. I'll have, like she was saying it when she was asking questions, that sometimes when you have been sexually assaulted or molested, maybe rape or something, you find it difficult to enjoy sex with your spouse. Yes, I have cases like that. They are not visible enemy. It's an invisible enemy. David could not be a good father because he was not well fathered. I've talked about the wound of the fathers, so much to talk about. So I do therapy. I do a lot of therapy. That's my job. But people pay for it. It's a professional thing I do. They pay for it. They pay for premarital counseling. They pay for family therapy. So I have a prototype of what I use. So if you're interested in any, I can always put you in for it then. I'll ask you which one you want. I have for impulsive control disorder, which is anger. I have of sexual addiction. I have premarital counseling. I have married therapy. I have some that are married to a difficult man. How do I have difficult women? Because we have women too that are very difficult. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. There's a hand that is raised up. I think Blossom wants to ask another question, please.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thanks for the opportunity. I just remembered while you were talking, Ma, when you started sharing your life experiences, the incident that was always happening in your mother's beer parlor, at the tender age of 6 to like 7 years, and the sales boy was always taking you and having sex with you on the crates of beer. And I'm thinking now, as a parent, were there any red flags that your mom could have taken note of? Something for her to have noticed. Was there anything that could have even given her like a signal or an idea that such a thing was happening right under her nose?
Let me start by, because I deal with, thank you so much for that question. Because I deal with family issues, I will say, I'll start from here. I have a nickname, you must trace it to face it. Where two elephants fight is the grass that suffers. There's no woman that is going through stuff in her life maritally that will give attention to her children. Drop it. Because you can't give what you don't have. Somebody said, if you're going to give me a clothes, I'll look at the one you are wearing. Me, I will check your wardrobe. If you did not borrow that clothes to party, people borrow clothes to party. So there's no signal. If there's a conflict in marriage, have you seen children say, Daddy, now please stop now, don't beat him, don't say that again. Or you are crying on your bed and your daughter or your son say, Mom, has Daddy started again? Come on. You are wounding that child, whether you know it or you don't know it. And let me say this, soul is not permitted to have pain. It's like having a headache, you want to use medication. The same thing with your soul. If your soul is wounded and you are in pain, you must use something to medicate that pain. It could be marijuana, it could be nicotine, it could be pornography, it could be masturbation, it could be everything. It could be anger, it could be rage, it could be anything. Just to fill that space, So my mother she can't have time. She's hustling, she's surviving. She's at the prime of her life. You don't know that this generation, they dump kids and go to work. When the father is not there, what do you want her to do? There was no signal. The only thing is that when I now misbehave, is abuse. Is it my fault? Every child comes into the world blank. It is what to play to their lives, they play back to the world. I have grandchildren today, clear. I remember 2 days ago, we wanted to swim. I swim with them, and I was very busy, and I promised my grandson that I'm going to swim with them. And he said, so I didn't swim actually, because I was on the phone, I was doing a lot of conferences. And he came to me and said, Grandma, you lied to me that you were going to swim. That thing pained me. I said, Dunamis, Grandma, don't lie. I didn't lie. I was busy. He said, but there are no people around. Because when I said I was busy, he didn't see visitors. I said I was on my phone. I had an emergency, somebody that, poisoned her husband and her children because, the man committed adultery and all of that. So I was going crazy. And I didn't allow it to go. They went home. The second day I said, Dunamis, Grandma, don't lie. Grandma cannot lie to you. He said, but I didn't see. I said, but I told you. You see, I'm an intentional person. I told you Grandma was busy, but I didn't see people. But we enjoy, because we do competition in the swimming pool, 2 of us. So he's always want to corner me and, Then Anna said to me, this thing is paining Grandma. You can't say Grandma is lying now. Please say sorry to me. I said sorry. I did that on purpose. I don't want it to resonate in his mind that Grandma lies. And I don't lie to my children. If I tell them they are going to America today, all of them, they are grown-ups now. They are big people now. The last one is getting married this Friday. To the glory of God. It's just COVID, no crowd. No, thank you, but my guest list is 30. We are observing COVID-19. I'm saying that my last one is going to be 30 in January. Now, what I'm saying is that when I give my word is my bond, but it's because I know what I'm doing, because I know a lot. Now, when a child grows from that system, he sees a lot of flaws. Do you know when my stepfather was trying to sleep with me and my mother caught me with a knife? The mark is still here. If you can see it. I didn't even go to that. You are insulting my husband. You are insulting my husband. Is that kind of a woman that will have red flag or black flag? Forget it. Every child that is from a dysfunctional home, she's a victim or he is a victim of error. Sorry to say that. And that's why you need to take your life back. Some of the CDs are there. There are courses on Take Your Life Back, about 30 episodes on its own, or maybe 60 something. Take your life back. You need to take your life back. And listen to me, you can't fly with weight. I fly business class. If you are going, they will still weigh your luggages. And if it's excess, they will still pay. And there are little or no way you can fly, put all your loads there. They must weigh it and it must be balanced to the, capacity of the aircraft. That's life. So if you don't address those things, they will still address you at the end of the day. Emotional wounds has to be dealt with. So she didn't notice anything. She was just living her life. It was when some newspaper came to interview me, and and I said, it was grass to grace. That was the Tribune precisely. And I was saying some things about my past. And her sister started, they took the papers to her. They were telling her stories. Funke Sorogon. So she went to look for the paper and she called me. I said, Funke, Mommy, do you know that your cousin that did abortion for me when I was in class 3 was sleeping with me till I left that village? She kept quiet. So most single parents, all of them, they are blind, they are deaf, they are dumb to their children. And that's why we do what we're doing. We do therapy for children. I have a case of a twin now. They have started being sexual from age 4 because the parents are divorced, separated. And this cartoon, you don't even censor what your kids are looking at. I say that a lot. When my grandchildren, and the stage they are now, when you're on your phone, they want to come and see. So probably it was even a Nali that was watching pornography and they got used to it because they had to report them in school that they are now becoming erotic in their emotions and they are just 4. Life is fragile. Please be smart, parents. If you are hearing me today and you're a mother and you're a father, please protect the soul of your children. All this aggressive game, you are bringing something. The soul is fragile. They can't sieve anything for now. So please, if you know what I deal with every day, it scares me, and that's the truth. You can't watch pornography and enjoy sex in your marriage. It's not possible. Take it to the bank. Those things that those people act, no woman will act it for you because they are under influence. And look at that now. When I was even growing, the worst, with all the nonsense I did when I was growing up, the worst thing that I saw was Ikebe Super when I was growing up. Today, a click away on your phone, you stumble on pornography. On Facebook, everywhere, porn is everywhere. Those women that they talk sex, everything, sex sells. We are living in a sex world. And our children are not raised in heaven, they are raised here. Our parents are busy. Thank you for your question. Thank you.
Wow. That will be all from my end. Thank you, Ma. Your response has got all of us thinking. Pastor, you're over to you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Blossom. Any other question here? Any other question again? I think it's been a great time. So many things said and so many things. Some of these things are, to me, they're just like a tip on the iceberg, which if you want to know more, we'll need to link up with her personally. And let me just read something here that I have in here, please. There is, if I put it on the chat, our phone number for WhatsApp. If you want to purchase any of our books, at least you can get that through that particular WhatsApp number. And of course, now also, if you also want to take it forward and probably go through some of the sessions that she's talking about. I'll share a little story with you on that. When I was still pastoring in Livingstone, one of the Redeemed Church that I pastored many years ago, I remember there was a case of someone that brought a case to me. And I went to go and see one of our senior friends who happens to be the boss to that particular lady in question, whom the husband reported they were having some issues. And after I spoke with this man, who happens to be one of my own senior friends in the university, and he shared an experience with me, and that was when I knew knowledge is important. He said, as a matter of principle, if you want to get married and you want me to be your wedding chairman, I must meet both you and the couple to be and speak with them. If I am not convinced of the fact that these people should get married, I will not accept to be their wedding chairman. And he said, that was one I handled a few weeks ago. After finishing a session with them, I told the two of them that if they get married, they fixed the date, everything is said. He said, if they get married, this marriage will run to Christ. He said, and I called their pastor that when they want me to be a chairman, I'm not going to be. And if you go ahead and join these people together as marriage, you are in for trouble. Now, if those people have not gone through that particular session, how would that have been able? They would have been, if the man has not insisted, was not even their counselor, he was just going to be a wedding chairman, and he insisted, I must see you and discuss with you before I accept to be your wedding chairman. What am I trying to say? Knowledge reveals a lot of things. And so I want to encourage us, if you are in any area where this thing affects us, I want to encourage us to be able to connect with her and for us to be able to learn. The Bible says, buy the truth and don't sell it. Buy the truth and don't sell it. There is no person who is a master, and I keep saying the only person who is almighty is God. Every man is limited in one way or another. So there are areas where you have strength, there are areas where you have skill, there are areas where you have ability to handle, there are areas where you can handle, no matter what it is. And it's better for us to leave such to people who have been trained, especially equipped for such. So I want to encourage us to be able to connect with her, check, you can get our details and our contact from the chat platform and take it forward from beyond this particular place, which is very important. Once again, I want to say thank you very much, Ma, for honoring this invitation. It's like I said, the essence of it is for us to learn and to be inspired. And if listening to her, knowing what she has gone through and where God has taken her to today is an indication that, look, what God has done for her, it can do for you. John was saying, he said, that which we have seen, that which you have heard, that which you have handled of the word of life, what you have experienced and passed through becomes real. It becomes practical. It's not the story of one thing that happened somewhere. It's an indication of what someone that you can relate with. So it's not just something you are reading like a fairy tale. And that's why I want to bring people on this platform so that they can share their own practical life experience with you. And thank God she's also a person I've known. At least I knew, of course, I was there at the wedding when she got wedded and whatever. So I knew her for a long time because the fellowship, I also grew up in Ibadan. We had that fellowship at the point in time together as Grace Evangelical Movement in Ibadan. So yes, that was where I met her. I got to know her, and thank God for the grace upon her today. So I believe it's been a great and wonderful time. And thank you very much, Ma, again for being here. And we trust God that the seed that has been sown by this will germinate. And like I want to say again, if there's anything need for you to reach out to her, please connect to those numbers. And if for any reason you are not able to, part for one reason or the other, if you get in touch with me, I'm sure I will be able to link you up with her.
I think that's better because sometimes those numbers, it's so overwhelming. But when you really need help and you tell Pastor, I'll make sure I honor him. And allow for time with you.
So please,
I think better that.
So just connect to, but I will link you up with her so that you can take it forward. There is like I also want to say, like Jerry Eze will say, what God cannot do does not exist, because he has put people in different places, equipped different people whom he has loaded with things so that you can use, through them, you can receive help. So help is available to anyone. Thank you very much, ma'am, for this great time. Lord bless you indeed.
Amen.
I want to appreciate those of us who are here for the first time. Sharing life experiences is an event that takes place every second Saturday of every month. I will bring in people, different people, to come and share their life experiences. And Reverend Dr. Mrs. Olufunke Adetuberu happens to be our guest for this month. We look forward to another person coming in next month, whom God's going to use to bless us. This is going to be put on YouTube maybe later today or tomorrow. And so you can check it on Facebook, because we are streaming it live on Facebook, and on YouTube also. We're going to upload to YouTube before the week runs to an end, so that you can also listen to it, and you can share with as many people that you know as possible who needs this help. What you don't know can kill you. People say what you don't know don't kill. It is not true. What you don't know can kill you, because ignorance can kill. So I want to encourage all of us to be able to share it, and we thought that can also be blessed by reason of today's meeting. Our other meetings on Wisdom Feast is third Saturday and fourth Saturday. We have one-on-one counseling session, and fourth Saturday is purely personal and related, or personal and related matters, and the white third Saturday is career and business. Second Saturday is sharing life experiences, and last Saturday is a teaching time, which we call the word banqueting. And that's a teaching time that I take every last Saturday of every month on the same platform by 6 p.m. So if you're here for the first time, we want to appreciate you. We look forward to seeing you in another session that we have. Before we close, I would like to request that our guest minister, Dr. Mrs. Adetuberu, just pray with us briefly as we close tonight. Please, over to you, man. You just pray with us and just close us for this meeting. Hello? Can you hear me, man? I'm not sure she's, not sure. Can we, okay, if she's not, I'll just